There's a group of people listening to this right now that this is going to bother. And it's not because it's wrong, but because it's accurate. Some of you actually don't want a better life. You say you do, and you think you do, and you talk like you do, and you act like you do. But what you really want is you want a better excuse as for why you don't actually have that life. I want you to sit in that for a second. I see this all the time, and I've been seeing it a lot more lately as I sit in the result of my own personal decisions. As you're aware, I'm fresh off of a separation of my spouse of 20 years. There's a lot of realizations that have been starting to come to me during this time with being alone and not having some of the same structural supports that were there before, structural supports that gave me an excuse. And it's caused me to think deeply about this and to think deeply about you as a listener as I start to see where my own excuses were getting in the way of my own happiness and looking outward and seeing the very same thing happening in the lives of people around me with them not even seeing it. But I see it, and I see it all the time now. People consume content like this. They listen to podcasts, they read books, they watch TikToks and Reels and YouTube clips, and they nod and they feel something. And for a moment, they believe that things are changing for them. They feel this thing inside of them that's shifting, but nothing actually changes. Why? Because information isn't the problem. You don't lack awareness. You don't lack tools. You don't lack access. You lack a standard. You've built a life where your current behavior is still acceptable to you. That's it. That's the whole thing. Let me repeat that. You have built a life where your current behavior is still acceptable to you. Because if it wasn't acceptable, you wouldn't keep doing it. Let me make this real. We can talk about health and fitness. That's the easiest one because without a shadow of a doubt, if you're listening to this, you have full control about what goes into your body and what you choose to do with your body physically. You say you want to get in shape, but you still negotiate with yourself every single day. I've been harping on the reality that if you are going to have a fit, weaponized body, there are certain things that you cannot avoid anymore. You have to count your macros. You have to know how much exertion you are doing, and you have to have a plan. If you don't have those things, you're just an enthusiast, and you might feel a little better and feel your pants a little looser, but you are never going to get to that place where you look at your body and you go, hot damn. Thank you. You say you want to build something meaningful in your life. But your phone and the doom scroll and the constant barrage of the same fucking content that you watch every week, every day is still there. The business content about how to be motivated. You watch clips from people that are doing way better than you and you sit and get pumped about it. Yeah, this is awesome. You share it with your friends and guess what? You don't do dick about it. Your phone is winning that battle. The irony of being inspired by content like that with people that are more successful is you actually have to step away from it for a moment to be able to do anything about it. You're saying you want a different relationship, but you won't have real conversations with the people needed in order to change it. You have allowed a certain level of dishonesty to just be acceptable with how you interact with people, with the things that you say, how you communicate your needs. There's a certain amount of lying you've got comfortable with, and it just has an excuse that makes sense. But let's stop pretending that this is actually confusion. It's allowance. It's permission. One of the things that's been really, really alarming to me living on my own now is how much of my former life was built on excuses. How much of my daily behavior was something that now I can't find it in me to tolerate because I don't have the foundation underneath it to let it be something that I actually do tolerate. So much of it was escape. The excuses about time management or lack of vision was me just not being willing to step into the effort to enforce a standard with the people around me, with my environment, with myself that said, this is inexcusable, let's go. It wasn't until I got out of that environment that I started to see how much of myself I bent. And I had every excuse in the world to be okay with it. And now I sit in this new environment, isolated from what was comfortable to me. And now everything matters. I don't have people to lean on to do the things they used to. I don't have somebody to bounce my excuses off of. Now, that won't be the case always. Naturally, in the coming years, I will again be in a companionship relationship. I will have people in my life. I will have a person again. And my commitment is to develop myself into the type of person that would never bend in that new relationship so that I can be an actual leader, somebody that actually protects the relationship and presides over my stewardship in an honorable way, because I have not done that. That's been one of the hardest things to admit to myself, is that even though I wasn't a complete numbskull in my marriage, I wasn't elite. And I didn't see that until I was outside of it. And I saw how unaffected my former spouse was. I saw the way that my children were reacting to things. And I saw how much of a deficit I felt inside of me. And I realized, oh, this is on me. I didn't do what I needed to because I allowed the mistakes and the excuses to pile up to where I could, as I started this episode with, I could just act like I wanted something bigger and better, but I actually didn't. And I know on some level, this is you too. You are giving yourself permission to do the easy thing, to stay the same, and then to dress it up with some sort of complex reason that's interwoven in a bunch of stuff that when you drill all the way down to the bottom of it, your identity is somebody that's not winning. Your identity is somebody that allows that. Your values and your beliefs do not reflect somebody that stands up for those things because you're not. Or if you're in that transitionary period, you haven't got to the point yet where the pain of knowing you need to change it is greater than the staying the same. The pain of not doing it. Knowing better and then doing better is the key to success. Knowing better and then not doing better is the key to misery. I see it everywhere. We try to make things complex to excuse ourselves in a better way. Now, I'm just working through something. I'm processing things right now. I'm trying to figure it out, man. I just need more clarity. And then once I have that clarity, I'll make the decision I need to. No, you won't. Quit kidding yourself. You need to tell the truth. You need to stop lying to yourself about exactly what's going on in your head. That's the part that people don't get. We have gotten so accustomed to living with a certain level of personal dishonesty that the idea of fully being present in the moment and taking all of our walls down and acknowledging what is scares the living shit out of most people. They can't do it. And so they don't do it, and they won't do it, and they stay stuck. And then they concoct some complex idea and create a bunch of reasons why they're the victim and other people's influence and other things are the problem. And this is the market and that's happening. And what's going on here is the reason why, when the fact of the matter is if you actually got off your ass and changed the things you needed to change, all of that stuff would melt off like butter. The truth is, staying where you are is still more comfortable than being who you say that you want to be. And as long as that's true, nothing will change. Like I said, I've done this. So much of my life has been this guy. Not just once or twice, a lot. I would say that if I'm at the core level of my self-awareness, this has been the biggest challenge I've ever faced, is truly stripping it all away and just saying, fuck it, I'm not lying to myself anymore. What's actually true for me? What is going on for me now? How am I handling this? What's missing? Why am I not taking the action I need to? It's not working for me. In every one of those scenarios, it wasn't because I didn't know. It was staring me in the face. It wasn't because I needed more time. It was just because I didn't want to deal with how hard it was going to be to do it. I didn't want to deal with what came with it. Because there is a cost to every amount of transformation that you go through. Something goes away. You have to shed something. A part of you has to die. And sometimes we conflict and confuse to think that a good part of us has to die. I like that part of me. I just didn't want to deal with it. And simply, you don't either. The conversations, the holding of boundaries, the version that you have to become. That was my issue. When I looked at the version of myself that I had to become, I could see down the road and know that there was going to be massive adjustments to my life that scared me. I knew better, but I wasn't willing to do better yet. And it took some finagling and some rearranging by God for the scenario to be what it was that created the moment where a decision had to be made. There was no more kicking the can down the road anymore. I couldn't delay it anymore. I couldn't tell myself a better story why. That's what you're doing right now. You're not waiting for clarity. Give me a fucking break. You're waiting for things to be forced upon you. You're waiting for the moment where staying the same becomes more painful than changing. It's human nature. That's how most people deal with this stuff. That moment will come. There is a reckoning awaiting for you. And I'm telling you, you can escape the wrath of that pain by doing it better now by choice. Because that moment is coming, it always comes, and the question is, do you want to choose into it before so it's less painful, or do you want it to be forced upon you? All right, let me just talk directly. I know I've been kind of wound up today. And there's a reason why I'm wound up today, is because I'm exhausted of this being the norm. The moment that I saw this stuff happening in my own life, I became disgusted by it. And I started getting the ick every time I would see it in anybody else. I had to really be honest about what is motivating me, what do I want, what's holding me back, because I had no more excuses, no more places to put blame. It was all back on me. And you already know what the thing is. As you're listening to this or watching this right now, it's in your mind right now. You already know the thing. You know the place where you're letting your standards down, where you're not holding a boundary. You know the habit that you keep letting get the best of you. You know the hard conversation you're trying to avoid and to create the absolute perfect environment for this thing to happen. Underneath it all, knowing that's bullshit and it will never be the perfect time. You just have to do it. Don't act like this is all hidden. It's not hidden. You're just being an avoidant. And every day that you avoid it. You reinforce the identity that you can't be trusted. That's the real cost. For you to have the life that you want, it is a very real thing that you have to trust yourself. In neurolinguistic programming, there is a understood principle about the dance between the conscious and the subconscious mind. I want you to consider that your conscious mind is like the captain of a ship, and it tells the crew, which is your subconscious mind, what it needs to do and where it would like to go. The captain chooses the orders, it chooses the destination, it decides what it wants, and the crew then takes the necessary tasks with the ship and makes it go there. The crew listens to the captain. And when the captain tells the truth and has integrity and is honest with himself and with others and holds boundaries and standards and has a vision, that crew will do everything with precision in its power to make certain that the directions of the captain are met. If the captain says, I'm making $1 million this year, the crew says, yes, you are. Let's get to work. That only happens when the captain is in alignment and has integrity and tells the truth. Does what he says, what she says, when she says it. If the captain is a lying drunk, anytime the captain then says to the crew, hey, I'm going to make $1 million this year, the crew then goes, no, you're not. We know better. That's cute, but thanks. And they don't. This is a representation of the lack of trust that you build when you don't do the things that you've been avoiding. The crew of your subconscious mind laughs at you because it knows you're not going to hold the boundary. You're not going to do what you say. You're not going to be a person of integrity. So it has no interest in expelling any sort of extra effort or attention to make it happen, because why should they? You're not. It's a mutiny. Now, even though this is an example, this is actually how it works. Until you're able to really be honest with yourself about who you are, what you do, the commitments you keep, the rules you live by, you will not have any sort of measured success that's anything noteworthy. That will be the real cost. You will be reinforcing an identity that you aren't trustworthy. Again, that is the cost, not the missed opportunity, not the delayed result. You just stop trusting yourself. So here's the line. You either start doing the things that returns your self-trust, you raise your standards, you keep your word, you keep upgrading, you do the things you need to, you hold the line, or you keep giving the excuses you always have, and you fall out of sorts, and you keep failing. That's it. You either tell the truth or you continue with the lie. There is no third option here. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another framework. You don't need another breakthrough moment. You don't need another plant ceremony. You need a decision. And you need to stick with that decision, as if your life depends on it. Because it does. I've talked a lot on this podcast over the months about authorship, about you holding the pen of your life, and how you can write your life in any way that you choose. This is what it means to have authorship, every detail. I've also said that that's actually what I understand to mean when it's said to do the work, is to, in a very real way, understand every micro and macro detail of what you want in every domain of your life. It takes effort and attention to figure out exactly what you want in the domain of health and fitness, in the domain of business and money, in the domain of spirituality and personal relationships. To know exactly what you want in every facet, Think about the details of that. What toys you want to experience, what trips you want to take, what dynamic you want to have with your person, how you want things to go in your pursuits for consciousness and spirit. To know all those details about what you want, that's work. That's authorship. Because when you do those things, then every piece of you that isn't ready for that will show itself. You will feel discomfort, and that discomfort is a signal that then is inviting you to level up that specific part of your life. And you can either do one of two things. You can run from the discomfort and keep lying to yourself and stretch that out so that it never actually comes, feeling miserable and depressed the whole time because now you know better, but you're not doing better, and blame it on everybody else. My favorite is when people say they're not getting enough out of their coach. Oh, yeah? You're not getting enough out of your coach? Are you doing the work that's actually allowing you to stop lying to yourself? Oh, that's right, you're not. You're stuck in the same habits and cycles. You're just jumping coach to get some different result that will never come because the problem is inside of you, not in the mentorship or direction you're receiving. See, when life is the one that picks up the pen for you and starts writing for you, it's not as kind. The storyline is not as triumphant. The question is simple. Where in your life, then, are you choosing the better excuse instead of the better standard? Handle that. That's my advice. Handle it. Where in your life are you choosing a better excuse instead of a better standard? And sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's that you're unwilling to accept you're never going to get closure on the thing you want closure with. Sometimes it's that you actually have to decide something and take action in a way that scares you. Like leaving a 20-year relationship when it's not horribly terrible or abusive. It just doesn't match anymore. And once you do that, once you handle that, that's when everything changes, dude. I am a walking, living testament to that. The things that have been coming to my mind and awareness in the last 2.5 weeks, that's all it's been. They've always been there, always waiting to show itself to me, and are setting the tone for the next 50 years of my life. It's reconnecting me with God. It's reconnecting me with myself. It's reconnecting me with my worth of abundance, of love, of spiritual connection, to which was all masked behind a bunch of lies and excuses before that I was unwilling to acknowledge. So what's your version of that? Where are you lacking in a willingness to just own your shit? Because that's the point. I realized something. I never introduced this podcast, so I'll do it on my way out. This is Bryce Prescott. You've been listening to The Lab. And like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time. I'll see you.